And welcome back to the marketplace. We were talking about sustainable development goals, health policies, other such policies, the globe and how it touches on Kenyans. And of course, now we move to an even more interesting phase of this conversation. We're looking at the Economic, Development Annual International Conference carried, the 8th one so far. We're looking at fostering economic transformation. Professor John, I'll come to you now. When it comes to the Kenyan gross domestic product, we're doing quite well, but Africa's gross domestic product is doing even better. When it comes to economic growth, 2 to 3% growth annually. When it comes to innovation and the potential to increase productivity, it's up 30%, but Kenya is lagging a bit. Do you believe that maybe there are, social issues that could be triggering or fostering, or in another case, hindering the growth of Kenya?
Well, the honest answer to that question is it's difficult to keep a constant rate of growth going all the time.
Right.
Because there are capacity limits in an economy. It used to be called absorptive capacity.
Right.
So sometimes, this may sound paradoxical, sometimes it can be beneficial for the rate of economic growth of a country, especially when we consider climate change impacts, to not increase as much.
Right.
We don't want it to decline,
Right.
but it's the rate of increase that really matters. And sometimes the rate of increase can be so high.
Right.
Now, but within an African context, that might be slightly unbelievable.
Right.
In the sense that African countries generally, and East Africa is different from West Africa, North Africa and Southern Africa, of course.
Right.
We never generalize across the 54 countries
Right.
of Africa. But the way in which the different types of African countries grow is itself of interest.
Right.
So the way that Kenya's grown is moving away from its dependency on agriculture towards, as you say, is a growing middle-income country now. And if I think like a country like Ethiopia, which I'm associated with in some degree, they've also gone for a similar path.
Right.
With their industrial parks,
Right.
clusters of economic activity. It's quite an interesting model across Africa, actually,
Right.
that other African regions can learn from. Yes, the challenge is, as you said yourself, everything is connected.
Right.
If you've got a very high rate of economic growth and you don't have the labour force to service that growth, then what's the point? And then it brings in the migration topic again, because you might then have to appeal to another country, please send some of your workers. This does happen. This has happened in history.
Right.
I come from Scotland, where we have a very small population of just over 5 million. We are underpopulated.
Right. Shockingly.
Underpopulated.
Right.
And this is quite an unusual situation to be in. Let me just explain what we mean by CAREED, if I may give a little plug for my centre.
Please do.
CAREED stands for the Centre for African Research on Enterprise and Economic Development. It's a mouthful.
Right.
So the acronym CAREED
Right.
is easier to pronounce. And we've been running since 2015, and we focus on positive aspects of economic growth in Africa. The narrative is often very negative about Africa in Western media. And most of our colleagues in Scotland are African. I'm one of the few exceptions not being African.
Right.
And we focus on this link between entrepreneurship and economic development. There are many links between the ability of individuals to be entrepreneurial. If you think of the major growth of big American companies at the start of the 20th century, like Ford Motors and so on, and how they grew from nothing, from something very small.
Right.
So this is what we're trying to encourage in our own modest way, because we operate in Scotland.
Right.
And we want to see this across the African continent. Yes. So just on the fact that the conference is being held here in Africa, in Kenya,
for the
tomorrow,
first time.
For the first time.
Congratulations to us.
So yes, so we are so happy to be here.
Right.
And we've been working well with Mount Kenya University and the World Health Organization over the last few months because we've introduced a new public health track into our conference. But if you look at some of the themes, we have how to reduce inequality in African economies. That's one of the themes tomorrow. Other one is the impact of infrastructure and innovation. One of the big problems in many African countries, as we know, is the lack of proper infrastructure to help the economy to grow. But also we look at the role of higher education in the economy, because the education sector is a sector like mining or any other sector that can boost the economy. And we also cover entrepreneurship, particularly female and youth entrepreneurship. And I'll just finish on this point. Dr. Berslin made the point that Mount Kenya University, and now this is a plug for Mount Kenya University, where I'm the Chancellor, that they are very, very innovative, in my opinion, in trying to address the problem in many African countries of youth unemployment. It's one of the huge problems in Africa. And universities in the UK are leaders in this field, because we have a lot of provision for graduates to set up their own businesses, internships and so on. And some of our interactions through my own university in Scotland with Mount Kenya University have led to some joint projects in that area. So that's a slightly longer answer than I wanted to give.
No, it's all good, Professor. Of course, Dr. Santido, you said health is a bit less complicated than economics and, economic development and entrepreneurship.
Not always.
Not always, he says. But he has mentioned something very interesting about a public health, inter alia conference between the three bodies and how important this is going to be. Do you believe that, we're stepping towards the right direction in this respect? When it comes to, getting political goodwill, you've said that's the most important thing. Are you getting political goodwill in a lot of the countries within Africa, and most importantly in Kenya?
I believe that we are observing a world on the move, if I can play with words. When we go to the issue of health and migration, the situation is radically changed to compare to 2 decades ago. As I mentioned before, attention in the past was solely concentrated on emergency situations. So there is a refugee camp in Kenya, there is an outbreak of cholera, that's the moment the health was paid attention. It's been realized that, first of all sectors are interconnected, and unfortunately COVID has been reaffirming that in a very painful way. So you cannot disconnect elements of the society or sectors thinking they are silos and independent from each other. Health particularly not only influence other sectors, but policy decisions taken in other sectors, they are having a powerful fallout on the health sector, on the health of people. Imagine industrial development or a political choice in relation to investment, deforestation, or agriculture, and so on. If we are going in the right direction, I would say we are moving. We know what needs to be done. We have clarity on that. We see a lot of countries which are giving hope because they are moving faster than others. Today, to compare to a few years ago, probably 40% of the countries worldwide, they brought the health and migration into the health agenda. So we see national policy including that. We see service, we see training devoted to undergraduate curricula and continuous education into that. But still, we are having concerning area of gap where we need to invest more. And I like to build on a carried objective. If I can choose 2 priorities, since you asked me before to prioritize. It's very important to strengthen the link with Africa in terms of research. When I look at the ongoing research or financing research on health and migration, we observed that 97% of the funding on research on health and migration, they're going to high-income countries.
Right.
Observing what happened in the low-income setting, so it's a sort of research in vitro.
Okay.
And that's not efficient. We need to involve more the actors, those which are at the starting point of the migration phenomenon. And we need to also promote partnership, collaboration, networking, in order to learn also from other side of our world. The second element is the connection with the economic dimension.
Right.
I like to often remember that there is a cost of inaction that's supposed to be estimated, quantified versus a cost of action.
Right.
And in public health, we do know very well in terms of public health outcomes, less well in terms of economic mechanisms. So that's why research in this area is very important, that non-acting has a higher cost than acting. So procrastinating, postponing, limiting access to health of people, it's usually leading to higher spending later on and higher difficulty managing health issues.
Right, which is very important to note. And as we start to conclude this conversation, as scintillating as it has been, Dr. Maslin, when it comes to the Center for African Research on Enterprise and Economic Development, it is a mouthful carried. You know, it comes for the first time to Africa, and it comes to Kenya, and it comes to Mount Kenya University, and it is the 8th annual international conference. When it comes to Kenya, how is this particular, summit going to change the perspective on a lot of, the people and the government on entrepreneurship, enterprise, and economic development?
Yeah, first, as Mount Kenya University, we are excited to be the first host in Africa, and being able to work with our long-time collaborators, the University of West of Scotland. And one thing that has happened even in our preparation to that is that it has made even our staff more aware of what is happening in the region, and even the very collaboration of being able to participate in the themes that we've talked about, the public health theme. We also have the immigration as one of the themes, and the other issues that we have, the issue of social enterprises, we have the issues of the entrepreneurship, as we've talked about, we have the issues of infrastructure. Now, the approach of this conference is really to almost bring everybody on the table, so that, because we realize that economists, we don't have the whole solution. Maybe I should have also said that I am an economist.
I have two economists and a doctor.
I'm a minority.
Yes, so one of the things that we've realized is that you don't have all the solutions. You must bring all the mindsets. And when you look at the socio-economic part of it, then you need to hear what are the sociologists saying about inequalities, and how can they, how can they be reduced? And then when we bring in the public health, is like how do we, I like what Dr. has said about that if you don't act now, you are going to spend more. We do a lot of cost-benefit analysis in economics and in business generally, because if the opportunity cost of me not doing what I'm supposed to do now is actually going to cost me more. So one of the things that we are looking forward in this conference is to be able to bring people to understand how does the different professionals link up to be able to bring a solution to the society, because we are talking about the same society, we are talking about the same people, we are going to impact on the same community, so everybody must come together so that we can be able to work together and understand the world allowed us. Talking about entrepreneurship, there are so many opportunities for entrepreneurship, and in very many areas. So our role as academicians is really to be able to bring the policy aspect into how can we encourage the upcoming scorers
Right.
to be able to understand how they are going to impact on their community. And so I believe it's going to have an impact both on our students. It is going to have, and of course the issue of networking. We are so excited with the opportunity to network with the likes of Dr. Severoni. We have a whole team again from Scotland. We have quite a number of regional delegates who are coming, and we feel that we are actually in Kenya. We look forward to become a springboard of what Khalid is doing up there in Scotland, to become a springboard as Mount Kenya, to be able to spread the agenda of Khalid in the region and be able to impact on our community.
Right, thank you so much, Dr. Ari. And Professor, let me just get a final sentiment from you. I do believe that we are even running overtime now, and I think you speak on behalf of my other panelists as well. Tomorrow, what should we be looking forward to? What is coming for Kenya?
Yeah, there are two questions there actually. What is coming tomorrow and what's coming for Kenya? I think tomorrow there will be a very rich series of presentations on a whole range of different topics which we've discussed tonight.
Right.
And I hope that through Mount Kenya University, because they're hosting the conference, that and your television channel, this will be disseminated as widely as possible, that there is such a centre such as Creed in Scotland, all those thousands of kilometres away, focused on Africa. And I think I would just summarise it this way. When Dr. Nelson was talking about entrepreneurship, I was thinking scholarship and entrepreneurship are not mutually exclusive. They're connected. You can be scholarly and entrepreneurial at the same time.
Right.
And I suppose finally, you never hear of the case where two economists agree about anything, but here tonight we've had two economists agree on practically everything.
Right. History is being made here and there. Thank you so much, Professor. Dr. Santino, I hope I haven't closed the doors for you. Are there any final sentiments, a sentence maybe?
Well, three recommendations if we want to see really the agenda of health and migration advancing in all countries. To invest into research, research, research.
Research, research, research. Thank you so much, Dr. Ari. I have had two doctors, a professor, two economists, and a doctor. Quite the conversation here on TV47. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, same time, same place. This has been The Marketplace. Have yourselves a very lovely night. My name is Hibak Said.